Growing calls to end Stand Your Ground. The top prosecutor in the Michael Dunn case now says the law needs to go. The top police officer in the Dunn investigation now says the law should be fixed. And Americans all across the country are demanding an end to this unjust law. It's been nearly a week since the Dunn jury revealed it was unable to reach a verdict in the shooting death of 17-year-old Jordan Davis. The mistrial shocked millions of Americans and put a new focus on issues of stand your ground and self-defense. Through it all, the parents of Jordan Davis have impressed with their composure, dignity, and grace in the midst of tragedy. And at the heart of this trial is the 17-year-old son they lost. He's no longer with us, but Jordan Davis has become the symbol of the rallying cry for all those fighting against this injustice. Joining me now is Jordan Davis's father, Ron Davis, along with the family lawyer, John Phillips. Thank you both for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend.
First, Ron, let me give my condolences for your loss. And let me ask you, it's been almost a week since the verdict. How are you and the family doing?
We're still in a fighting mood. We want a retrial as soon as possible, and I've been in contact with the prosecutors, and they agreed that a retrial will happen as soon as possible, as soon as we get a chance to get with the judge, and we do want justice for Jordan.
Now, right now, they have set a retrial for May, and you seem to be ready to go through it. And what do you hope the prosecutors may do that anything differently? Do you want them to talk more about Jordan as a person?
Yes, I want them to talk more about Jordan as a person. The only picture that the jury saw of Jordan was a ID picture, which is very generic. I like to see the picture that you're showing on your show. This is Jordan Davis. When he's with his friends, his father, his family, that's Jordan Davis. You know, they talked a lot about Michael Dunn and how a calm guy he was and all of that. And so they were trying to get a connection with the jury with Michael Dunn, but nobody put a connection with Jordan Davis, and he's the victim in all of this.
Now, John, as a lawyer, what do you hope to see from the prosecutors in the next trial? And are you going to be in touch with the prosecutors and giving your views from the family?
Absolutely. We're going to be a little more vocal this time. You know, the prosecutor tried a good case if the law was fair, if the law was equal, and jurors viewed a white businessman and a young black teen on the same wavelength. But the scales are a little bit tipped against the young black teen, the thug, it's okay to be a little bit afraid, a little bit of apprehensive in America of the young black teen, except it's really not. The thug here is a white businessman named Michael Dunn, and it's not fair. And so we've got to do a little bit more. The prosecutors have to do a little bit more to rebalance that and show what a good kid Jordan was and what a terrible neighbor and friend and ex-husband Michael Dunn was. And we just got to find a way to see that done.
Now, 2 jurors have spoken out since the verdict. Here's part of what they said.
Everybody's making this a white and black thing, and it's not. In our decision-making process, nobody brought up not one race. Never. It was never brought up.
Sitting in that room, it was never presented that way.
Ron, what is your reaction to that, and what is your reaction to that, John?
Well, the number, I think it's jury number 8, the young lady, she said it wasn't a black and white thing, and nobody discussed that in the room, and I don't see how you could not discuss it when within 30 seconds of getting to the gas station, Michael Dunn said, "I hate that thug music," and all of a sudden, because somebody was listening to rap, it became thug music, whether the person was a thug or whether it was a person that went to church every day, so right there, they just thought it was an African-American person, so that is an African-American. Also, the juror, she connected a little bit with Dunn, but does she understand, what it is to have children? I mean, I don't believe she had children. I don't believe she understood a father or a mother's love for their child because she doesn't have children, from what I was told. And she looks like to be about maybe 21, and she hasn't experienced the things on this earth that other people have experienced. So maybe that's her summary, you know, that everything was all right with Michael Dunn. But at the same time, she actually showed that it was guilty for attempted murder of the boys. So if you wanted to show it guilty for attempted murder, also she said she was leaning toward guilty in second-degree murder for my son. So you can't say the guy was a good guy or whatever when you think that he had a second-degree attempted murder guilty charge that you would have given Michael Dunn.
Now, John, you just mentioned race and the difference. Do you think the jury didn't discuss race because it was never brought up in the trial and the prosecutors never raised it?
Just because you don't mention it, just because it's the unspoken, you know, elephant in the room, doesn't mean that it's not in the juror's subconscious. And in the same, I agree with Ron on this issue. You know, when you ask African Americans about the talk, and this is a young lady that's never had to have a talk with a black teen, it's about life preservation. When in white America, the talk is about the birds and the bees and procreation. And that says all you need to hear about where America is when white America is having a different serious talk than black America.
You know, the jury never heard phone calls that Dunn made from prison. Here's part of one call.
All right.
She found some YouTube videos of these guys, and they're all gangster rappers. You know, because when the police said that these guys didn't have a record, I was like, you know, I wonder if they're just flying under the radar.
Right.
Because they were bad.
Now, he never knew these guys, but he sees them in moments, and all of a sudden he knows they're bad, right, and that they come up with their gangster rappers. I mean, do you think the prosecutors should fight to use these calls in the new trial, Ron?
Absolutely. You know, and there's also letters that were written in prison where he says that 90% of the blacks in here are idiots and we should take a gun and shoot all of them. These things are inflammatory, yet they're true. They're his truth. And so even though they may be inflammatory to the community, they're his truth. And because it's his truth, we need to have that displayed in front of a jury so they'll understand how bad this guy was and how good Jordan was. They need to go ahead and put some things in there about Jordan Davis. They didn't even want the prosecutor to mention what a good kid Jordan Davis was. The police officers that went on and had Michael Dunn and interviewed him for the first time, they mentioned that this kid never was arrested. He was a good kid. Well, they didn't want to mention that also in court. So we want them to mention that in court, that Jordan was a good kid.
Now, John, how could these calls change the next trial? How could it make a difference?
You know, there's still a delicate balance with character evidence. The law is very protective of not trying character. But here I think these calls and the jailhouse letters and what the neighbor had to say about Dunn needs to creep in. It needs to come in to the fullest extent possible, because the jurors are already misbalancing character. They're letting Dunn's father's neighbors testify that he's a peaceful guy. This shows he's not peaceful, especially to black people. You know, he's not peaceful at all if he's calling the people in prison with him monsters and animals that we need to eradicate. It's the insanity of Michael Dunn that needs to be exposed here.
Now, Ron, both jurors had a message for you. Watch this.
I would say I am sorry, of course. Nothing will bring back their son. I hope that they feel that we didn't do them a disservice.
I tried to fight for his son. Everyone that felt he was guilty, we fought, and we fought, and we fought.
What's your response to that?
The first juror, she, you know, when I was called into the witness stand, it was unprecedented that the defense attorney didn't even let the prosecutor know that they were going to call me to the stand. He ambushed me and brought me to the stand. As a grieving father, he didn't care. As someone who has lost their son that was gunned down by his client, he didn't care. And he just basically said, go to the stand and testify. But you know what? He couldn't break me down because of the fact that the truth, no matter when you ask me for the truth, is going to be the truth. And so that witness, that juror, when she saw me, she was in tears because the way he called me to the witness stand. The other juror, I understand that she tried to do the best that she could, and I don't have any fault with that, but I just want her to take a moment to realize that the prosecutor, John Guy, the last thing he said to her and to the other jurors, just look at common sense. You know, sometimes you can just look at the facts and common sense will bear the facts out. And they keep looking at their jury instruction, which is stand your ground. And stand your ground is so confusing to the jury and for every citizen in the state of Florida. We need to rewrite stand your ground because that's the last thing they hear from the judge is the stand your ground instruction.
Now, I know that you have become very involved in Stand Your Ground. Notwithstanding the particulars of this case, many of us have been involved with that. I know you've stayed in touch with Trayvon Martin's family. What do you and the mother intend to do around the Stand Your Ground law?
Well, we went to the House of Representatives in Tallahassee to get it repealed. Representative Alan Williams tried to repeal it, but they've connected it to the Castle Doctrine, so they will not repeal it. The next step is to have it rewritten because it's not clear. You know, it's so much gray area in it. So we intend to go down to Tallahassee, and maybe we can come to something where we can have shoulder to shoulder, Reverend Sharpton, Tracy Martin and Sabrina Fulton, maybe they can come with us. I like to really get together with all the leaders and go down to Tallahassee while they're in session and demand that Stand Your Ground be rewritten.
Now, I want to ask you this question. You said you want to meet Michael Dunn in prison. What would you want to say to him?
I would like him to know, because right now he's not remorseful, and I can't forgive anything that he did until I see some remorse. I want to sit across from him and let him know he killed a good kid. He killed a child. He killed a 17-year-old that will always forever remain 17. He shot a bullet through his lungs. It traveled and tore his aorta. He was choking on his own blood. And when I have a picture in my mind of my son choking on his own blood, unable to speak, and knowing he's second away from death, it breaks my heart. My heart is full, and I want him to know that, and I want to try to change his mind to understand that he didn't just shoot some animal on the street. He shot my son. He shot everybody's son. He shot America's son. These 17-year-olds, they have a life to live, and for him to snuff it out just because of loud music is a tragedy.
What would you want the world to know about Jordan as a father? What were the characteristics of Jordan that you want us all to know?
That Jordan was playful like most 17-year-olds. They like to go to the mall and talk to girls in the mall like most 17-year-olds. They like to play ball. He played basketball with his friends. I like them to know that he had aspirations to be in the military, either the Air Force like my brother or either in the Marines like his cousin. He also liked to go to the beach. He was an excellent swimmer. We turned our back to the waves, and we always had a contest who could stand up under the waves when they hit you in the back. I want you to know that he's not only an African-American kid, but he's an American kid, and we should be respectful for all our kids, no matter what the race is. And I want everybody out there to know that you cannot keep this up with shooting these kids, because after a while, they're going to turn on all the adults, because it's up to us to make laws to protect them.
Ron Davis and John Phillips, I thank you both for your time tonight. And Ron, again, our sincere condolences for your loss. And we all will continue to raise about Stand Your Ground and this law and what it means. You certainly can depend that I'm going to stay out there on the field for that, because I feel that way. Thank you so much.
Thank you for all you do. Safe travels back.
Thank you, Reverend Sharpton. Thank you very much.
We'll be right back.